me a favor. Give me a clap hands again, would you? Very good. Thank you. Now sing patty cake while you do it. I'm just kidding. So, I don't know why I know why, but I'm really, really enjoying this. I really am. Your mom, we just got done talking about how she was like pioneer type woman, you know, strong, good woman. What did your mom love? What was her favorite thing? Did you ever like chocolate, or did she love it if you brought her something? Did she ever display anything you brought her? Or
she liked pictures. She liked flowers. Flowers was a big thing in her garden. She somehow got a hold of a I don't know what it's called. Anyway, it was a big garden plant. She got a hold of that. There was none of them around St. George in those days. A lot of them today, but none in those days. She had about the only one in town. She liked that. She liked to work in her yard. She was a good person with that. I was mostly raised by my sisters, Caroline.
why is that?
Not much Annie. Lila a little bit.
But why is that?
Why was that?
Yeah, why is it you were raised
Well,
by
my
your...
mother was always working.
She worked a job?
She worked a job.
I did not know that.
She worked at a care center as a LPN.
So she was doing like retirement center type stuff. So she was doing a little bit like what Amy's doing.
That's general area.
Hey, it's all the same stuff. Trust me. Yeah. I've talked to Amy. It's a lot of work. So I thought about something when I came back in here. When I was in there eating the sandwich, that's a fantastic sandwich, by the way. What about like walking down the roads? One of my favorite memories is over on our street when it was dirt road. I was walking up to the pond and just like even just walking between there and here in your house. But I couldn't even imagine the cool places in St. George when you were a kid. There had to have been places a pond you just went and hung out by, a bridge you walked across. I mean, what were some of your like places you just hung out? Like what did St. George?
Well, we didn't hang out much, but because we didn't really have the money to do anything. But there was a cave up on the Dixie Hill that the kids would go up and go in. That was fun. It's still there.
Yeah, I was reading the Pioneer House that's like in the wall kind of deal, or an Indian house or whatever it is.
It's a hole in the mountain. Water came out of it. We'd go up and get watercress and bring it down and make sandwiches out of it.
Water what?
Watercress.
Crest?
Watercress.
Crust.
Cress.
Crest.
C-R-E-S-S.
What is that? Water crest?
Water, not tea.
Cress.
Cress.
No tea.
No tea.
I've never heard of that. What is that?
That makes the finest sandwich you can have.
You realize I have to look this up now,
You
right?
can buy it at the stores.
I feel like you're messing with me. Water.
Cress.
2 S's? Uh-huh. Oh, it's one word. It's a vegetable. It's a cruciferous vegetable that is a member of the cabbage family. It is a perennial plant that is native to Europe and Asia, can be found in cool, flowing streams. Watercress is often cultivated in most soils or tanks, or in moist soil or tanks. Its young shoots and leaves, for its young shoots and leaves, which are rich in vitamin C and have a peppery flavor. Really? So they're kind of spicy.
It's spicy.
But they're good.
Made a great sandwich.
This is the first
You butter the bread, you butter it, and you put watercress on it. Then you eat it.
You just would butter the bread, put this on it, and eat it like that.
However, it works good in salads too. It gives a good tang to the salad.
When was the last time you had watercress?
When I was a kid. I may have had it once or twice since. I don't know.
You realize I'm getting on Amazon to buy seeds for this right now, right?
Yeah.
I have to. I've never heard of this. Or water. I mean, bare minimum, my kids have to try it. I'll be like, okay, no, guys, Grandpa told me about this. Oh, you don't want that. Watercress seeds. That is crazy. And there's not even a lot of reviews. There's not. I wonder how many people just have never heard of this.
Oh, I don't think many people have. That's the reason we use this is because coming out of that cave up there, it was cold almost all the time, and the water was flowing, and it let the watercress grow.
And it's not even native from here. It makes you wonder how far that bird had to fly.
I don't know. Somebody may have brought it here.
This is called Republic Cress. You think that's the same thing?
I never heard it called that.
Well, either way, I'm going to add it to my cart and hope for the best. All right, that's neat. But there wasn't a lot of places you played. You would go up there on the hill. Was there ever?
You go up there in that cave today, no one find watercress.
It's pretty dry right now. I went in there years ago with Dee Dee, and if it's the one you're talking about where it's just in the side of the hill up there by the Dixie Hill, but it goes up and it's got like a couple window cutouts or something in a cave, maybe a fireplace someone put in there, but it's just marked as like an old pioneer house or something. But there's a lot of water that accumulates in there in the ground. When it rains, it's got a big circular area that sits up against the wall. That's not it? I'm going to find it. I'll find it and I'll see. But I'm gonna get me some of that stuff. I'm going to share this with Dee Dee. Where's it at?
You can go over to Harmon's and probably buy it.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, that might be a little bit easier than trying to grow it.
I'll tell you, it'll be a lot more easier.
Let me see.
Buy it.
Copy. You said you have something that's easier, or you saying that would be easier? I don't use this thing hardly ever. Social, there we go. I'm sending this to, oh my goodness. I can hear your, there you go, Dee Dee. I can hear your chair rocking back and forth. What is this doing? Allow paste. Oh my goodness. And paste. Yeah, I am not used to iPad. There we go. Okay. Do you know where your parents are from?
Well, the Carpenter family that I'm a member of came from New York. And I think the Stringhams did also.
You're saying the Carpenters came from New York? Well, did it go? Your dad did he move out here from New York?
My grandfather did.
So your dad was born and raised here.
My dad was born and raised in St. George.
What about your mom?
My mom was born and raised around this area, over in Berry Springs and a few places.
Sorry, I gotta do this. All right, and here we go. Ooh. I feel like I know this. You can cover it or you can choose not to. How did your parents meet?
I think we'll skip that one.
All right, okay. For the sake of future posterity, at that point in time, it wasn't, what's the word, cordial for a young woman to be a single mother. So she was set up by the rest of the family, right? Her family.
Grandma set her up to marry my dad.
There you go. All right. What were your grandparents like? Did you ever meet your grandparents?
Sure.
What do you remember about them?
Well, I can tell you that my grandmother was a beautiful lady. In fact, her picture is gracing the walls of one of the restaurants in St. George.
Which one?
Today. on the corner of where the Big Hand Cafe used to be.
Oh, now I'm going to figure out where that place was. I had that earlier. So what was it that made her such a wonderful woman?
She was a nice lady. She was quiet, reserved. I used to go over and sit and talk to her about family and genealogy. She had a lot of it from the family and
She had a lot of what?
genealogy from the family.
That mic's like drifted way far away from your face. You got to pull that one closer. It is. No, you just pull it. It'll. In fact, it'll be better if it lines up with that better. So pull it right on in close. The closer, the better you sound.
Okay, how's that?
That's beautiful. Thank you.
All right. She was a beautiful lady when she was young. I don't know why she married my grandfather, because he wasn't a good-looking guy.
I think he's probably going to take issue with that when you get to the afterlife, Grandpa.
I know. He can. I never met him.
But she was very pretty. That's cool.
Yeah, I never met Grandpa. I never met Grandpa Carpenter. I never met Grandpa Stringham. I met Grandpa Stringham number 2, Grandpa, but he wasn't the father of any of the children. He just married Grandma so she wouldn't be single.
But that's your dad. You're
That's my mother's
really
family.
same kind of story. I didn't know that. And so, did they have kids together?
No.
So she had. Did her previous husband
She
pass away?
married Frank Stratton in St. George, and they lived right next door to us.
Sorry, I got to turn this down so you can't hear me.
So we walked next door and could visit with Grandma anytime. 2 doors down was my uncle.
Hold on, is this the uncle you guys beat up?
No,
Oh, okay, all right. I had
a
that.
good uncle.
So, and this is from the house you lived in.
Yeah.
And so, how long? I guess that you can recall. How long did Grandma was she around?
She died when I was about 18 years of age.
And what happened with her? Is that old age or?
Old age.
You said that all your grandparents had kids when they were a little bit older, right? And theirs. Why is that? You think that is versus like what you guys chose to do?
Just tough times. They had to keep working to keep the families going.
So you think that the families, they waited to have kids until they were older because they were trying to establish themselves and be able to do anything.
Sure.
Gotcha. So, sorry, I'm trying to mess with all my wires. I really want to be able to try and stretch my foot out, and feels really nice to be able to stretch my leg. I'm gonna jump. So, do you think the reason why your grandma was such a favorite person is because she had a lot of the attributes and things that
She was pleasant to talk to. She taught us about genealogy, and she's a good person.
Okay, we're going to jump on a sidetrack here just a little bit from these. What did he do for fun when he was growing up?
When I grew up,
This question comes from Dee Dee on Facebook.
okay, what did I do for fun? We went swimming out at the farm. We had 2 huge water reservoirs, and we could swim in the reservoirs. And that was a lot of fun. We'd go up on the Red Hill, go through the cave. Up there, we sometimes I'd try further out, up where the golf course is now. It's on the right, just as you leave St. George Sword Vale. I'd walk back in there a lot because it was a nice area. It had a spring and water running, and we watched like that. I was back there one day, and I don't know where it came from, but somebody started shooting, and the bullets were flying all around me. And I was back there hiding underneath a ledge, but I don't know if they ever knew someone was there or whether they just target practiced.
Remind me again where you're talking about. You said when you leave St. George, the golf course. Where is it?
The old St. George golf course.
You mean the one that's on the North Bluff?
Yeah.
When you're heading up to Winchester.
Heading up to.
And there's like a lot of greenery and stuff. Is there springs up in there?
Yeah.
And someone was shooting at you?
Yeah, someone was shooting at me.
Now, I know this story's for you. This is for you, but you want to hear a quick story for me? When I was younger, I used to go to the canals out right about where your farm was. And I would go out there with my buddies, and we'd just go swimming and go underneath the bridge that would hold all the water back and stuff. And anyways, we had fun, and we got in trouble and all that. But one time we went over there during school. I pulled up on that road that was just above the canals, behind where the dam was, little shut gate, And we got out and started walking. And after about 20 feet, I heard, zoom, and in the dirt, I go, you guys hear that? Mm-mm. I go, We keep walking. And I hear, zoom, and the dirt just passes. And I'm going, guys, I think we're getting shot at. And they're like, what? I'm like, listen, stop, listen. And they turn around, and it was like right between Brad and I. Not even kidding. It goes, and it was like just barely, right. It goes, and they start screaming. Everyone starts freaking out. We ran and got in the Bronco. I backed up, took off, got out of there as fast as I could. We didn't usually pull up that far. We usually parked clear down on the road and then walked up. But I was like, I had gone around the mountain and went up that way and was like, well, we went out there to figure out who in the heck was shooting at us. Went back around towards, the base of Warner Valley, but more towards where your farm was. And it was a big mountain man thing. They had this huge convention out there. They had all these mountain men out there, thousands of them. And the hillside that had all that, they were out there with their musket rifles just shooting. And when I said something to them, you know what they said?
What?
It's private property. You're trespassing. They didn't know I was over there. They were just stray bullets. But when I said, you could kill someone, they said, you're not even supposed to be there.
Well, I'll tell you what. They weren't supposed to be shooting into it because it was private property, and they didn't own it.
Well, I'll tell you, it scared the crap out of me. That was scary.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Got a couple more of these I kind of want to go over. So from Ashley, what is his absolute favorite memory from when his kids were growing up? Wow, we fast forward in time like crazy here. All right, so when your kids are growing up, well, because we're talking about your youth, and now all of a sudden we're, So
A good memory is I went out and I decided my kids were all going to be raised exactly the same, no deviation. So when I see something I thought they need, I would go buy, like for your mom, I bought a little bike. I think it was a bike. It was obviously much too old for her. And that was Midges was my failing, because I always tried to advance them way beyond their years in whatever I bought them for toys. But it's okay. I at least got them things that they could have fun with. And I don't know what their memories of what I bought was, but I do know that was mine. I'd buy them whatever I thought sounded good to me, but it may not have been the best for them.
So you're telling me that your favorite memories of raising your kids was when you were able to get them things.
Get them things. Things we never could have when I was kids.
That's good. All right, I'm going to respond to her really quick. I keep trying to decide where I want this, and it keeps not. I almost want it like up a little higher. There we go. Reply. You know, this is so you. He said, and I'm shortening this a lot. Buying things for his kids. Buying things. I feel like that I'm paraphrasing that in the wrong way. Is that the right way to say that?
Buying what?
Things for his kids. And seeing their reaction.
Reaction. Sure.
There you go. All right, we're going to jump back on track for a second, and I'll go back to a few of those. All right, so who were the most famous celebrities when you were growing up?
Most famous celebrities?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, people that crossed my path. Or what?
I think just like when and I hate to say this, I've never been a celebrity person. I would love to meet like Patrick Stewart, things like that from Star Trek. But for me, I think of people who are famous like in Hollywood. And so, and obviously I have my own people. I love Sean Connery and the guy that played Gandalf.
I liked him, but he's a much later actor than when I was growing up. He wasn't around when I was growing up.
That's true. He was doing James Bond, but that was in the 60s.
Yeah, that's...
And 70s.
Later.
So who was it, though? Like, when you were a kid and everyone was like, oh, this guy.
Oh, we had lots of movie stars in St. George. John Wayne was here for quite a bit. We had Clark Gable. We had Maureen O'Hara.
They were here, like, doing movies? Or?
Doing movies, yeah. I got to be on the set of most of those movies when they was filming.
How old were you at that point?
Oh, 15, 16. I remember Clark Gable had his hair done every day down at the beauty parlor. And he was coming down the road, walking from the corner there to across from the Big Hand Cafe. And somebody pulled out a gun and shot it twice at him. And he went, oh, you got me, you got me. And he came up laughing, and it was just the blanks. But
Probably raised quite a bit of noise.
yeah, it made a lot of noise.
That's not the guy from...
He had a good sense of humor.
That's not the guy from Addams Family, right? I mean, he's got that good-looking mustache. He kind of looks like the dad from Addams Family. I'm trying to see whatever other movies I recognize him in. He's been in quite a few.
Oh, yeah, he was in a lot of movies.
This is the Gone with the Wind guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And it's got the Misfits and...
Frankly, I don't give a darn.
Frankly, Scarlet. I don't give a dang. It Happened One Night. I'm not sure I know that one.
That was a good movie.
That one looks good. It started in Naples. Mogambo. I don't know that one. And San Francisco. Call of the Wild. Yeah, he's been in a lot of movies.
Oh, a lot of movies.
And that guy was just dancing the streets here.
Oh, yeah, he just walked around. It was friendly in those days, and no problem. They never tried to. He never put on any pretenses or airs. He just was here as a gentleman and didn't worry about things.
So who was the other one? You gave me another name.
I worked. One of the movies I worked on was with Tab Hunter.
Who?
Tab Hunter.
T-A-B?
T-A-B.
Hunter.
I worked with him. I was the bodyguard for him. We kept all the girls away from him.
I don't recognize him at all. I mean, he looks like a good-looking guy. Looks looks like he's got.
He sang a song that was very, very famous.
Which one's that?
Young Love.
Young Love. How does it go?
Young love, our love, it's filled with sweet emotion.
It is right here. They say for every boy and girl,
Yeah.
there's just one love in this whole world. I don't think I have any audio on this. I don't know how it even sounds. But no, that sounds good.
You won't know it from me singing it.
You wouldn't want. Oh, yeah, you did good. You did. So I actually have a customer right now. She's a singing teacher or something, and she says, "I'll do trade." And Grandpa, I'm terrified of the idea of singing in front of this person, but I also know I would love to be able to actually sing, and I don't even know how.
Yeah, I don't know.
She said to me, I said, "I don't have very good ears. I'm tone deaf. I have no idea what I'm even singing. I don't know where I'm supposed to be, you know?" And she says, we've worked with a lot of different students. We've even worked with deaf students. We've learned that, with certain students, you have to adjust your expectations.
You'd have to adjust them big.
Right.
Time for me.
You do good. I enjoy sitting next to you in church. So the celebrities that you knew most were the ones that were here.
Yeah, the ones that came here.
What about like radio? Because I mean, that was a thing that came as a transition. Did you guys listen to radio at home?
Yeah, we listened to radio, and the early station I worked on, KDXU, was the only station in St. George. I started out as an announcer on it, and eventually worked up to be chief engineer.
How old were you at that point?
18.
So this is after you had been in the Army for a few years and had been doing a lot of your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of questions on here. I put it out there and said, hey, who's got some questions? And Grandpa, this thing's like boom, 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 boom. People got questions for Grandpa. So on the radio, when you were growing up, and I'm thinking pre-18, before, you guys had radio before you had a local station, right? Weren't they blasting radio from East Coast?
Before we had local station, we had best listening station was KOMA in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Oh, wow. And that station hit here?
Oh, yeah. Back in those days.
AM?
AM.
So that was a high-powered station.
Well, not that big. You got to realize the reason you can't get a lot of stations is because there's too cotton-picking many of them on the air.
So it's the noise from each other that actually...
Yeah, it's killing it. But we listened in those days. We listened to KOMA all the time.
So what would they do?
Oh, they did all the hit tunes. That's where we heard the real music. It wasn't available in St. George. So we listened to KOMA.
What about stories? Did they do those? Where like they would get on and they would say like what's the hi ho silver? I know that, but I was saying, did they have the stories they did? Then they would act it out and do the speaking parts and all that. I mean, I see it on old movies.
We never really had that in St. George. It was existent in bigger cities, but not here. They really struggled hard for programming to go along with that. It took a bigger station to create the revenue necessary to employ 10 or 15 people to do a Lone Ranger or
Do you want me to get you some water?
No, not fine. To do a Lone Ranger or one of those.
Because they were live acting out basically a show.
Oh, they were live acting. There was no recorders. So
I've seen ones where like one person acts out multiple parts, but they got all those voices.
Oh, that's happened too. Some of the people were very good at multiple voices, but it's all. They had stages, and in fact, the reason Bing Crosby started doing his show not live was because the company I worked for, Ampex, built him a special machine so he could record his voice and he could play his program. He could record it and play it. So he could come in and do 4 or 5 shows for a week And up until that time, he had to be there every single day that program was on. And he didn't like that very much. So he hired my company to create a recorder that he could record and not have to be at the studio. He bought 5 of those machines, so he'd always be prepared. And it was really good. I think the company probably took an arm and a leg from him to get it, but he bought 5, and he essentially paid for all the development of the audio tape recorder.
It's kind of crazy to think about the amount of money that drives innovation. And this gentleman, as a show performer, was able to drive that innovation that probably has gone on to become tons of different inventions.
Oh yeah!
Imagine if janitors were the highest paid. The innovation that we would have when it comes to cleaning and taking care of things. I know that sounds crazy, but the people that always get the innovation moving are the plus jobs. Mm-hmm. And so you end up with things like that. But it makes you wonder, like, what would...
If somebody else were guiding the direction.
Right? Yeah. Let me go back. I want to read a couple of these. There's so many of these, Grandpa. I won't even be able to get to all these right now. We'll have to write these down. But, like, well, Dee Dee... I don't want to play favorites. She asked a couple, so I'm going to skip past her. Rebecca said, what is his favorite song of all time?
I don't know. I had a lot of favorite songs, depending on my mood for the time. I always told your grandmother that I wanted him to play a certain song for my funeral, but I don't know.
What song is that?
You shouldn't ask me that right now because I can't tell you.
Kind of what you said?
You shouldn't ask me that right now because I can't tell you.
Because you can't think of it, or you don't want to think of it.
I can't think of it.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
It's almost in my head.
What time period does it come from?
50s, 60s, 70s in there.
So it's one of those ones like you did for her, for hers.
I used to play them on the radio. Yeah, I didn't do it for her.
No, but the one that you did for her, that's the country style singing. Yeah. Is it something like that?
Yeah, it's good voicing. You can understand it well. I enjoyed that song. It's a tremendous song.
What do you want? I said, in order to lengthen this for Rebecca, I responded with the favorite song. I said, depends on the mood. What would you do to expand that? Like maybe like a music can inspire. Music helps me. Did you like to listen to music when you worked, or no?
Oh yeah, I like to listen to, but I like to listen to music by I liked Elvis Presley a lot when I was young. I liked I like some music by some Western singers. My favorite format, though, is 50s, 60s music.
There we go. 50s and 60s music. All right, so gotta jump back on this really quick because I don't want to lose you. That's actually not bad. This is a hard one because I feel like we could write a book with this one. What advice would you give a teenager now?
Work hard, study, always study and try to find out what you want to be in life, because there are so many things to do. And if you don't go out and try a few things, I know many people that's tried 2 or 3 different professions and finally, at some point in life, have settled on what they really want to become. I use Beck as an example. Beck has been a restaurant manager. He's done all kinds of things, but he said the impulse has come to him to be a registered nurse. And that's the field he wants to be in. We're there because we have people influencing us. In Beck's case, it would have been Amy and her example. And I think she's a fine example for her to emulate. But you got to find out. The key thing is find a job that you would work at for nothing and then work at it for a living. I had a job like that. It was in research, and I would have worked at that for nothing. But I had a very good livelihood from it. It's only by coming back to St. George that I couldn't make any money in St. George because there's no research going on in St. George. But in California, research was really it.
The what now, the last part?
Research was really it. I enjoyed it.
When you're talking about the advice we give to teenagers, the thing I keep coming back to, keep thinking about, is that when you were growing up and then you were doing whatever it was you had to do, whether it was work or farming or cleaning up or doing work for neighbors or grandma or grandpa or uncle or just to make ends meet, there was always a task, and you learned how to work, and the people around you taught you how to work proficiently. As you grew older, there was a need to make more income than what you currently had. So with that work ethic, you went out and you worked hard. We're in a different, and my kids help me with this. Like, we're in a different world today than we were. And I always I just dismissed it. But the kids aren't experiencing life the same way that we did. Like, growing up, if I wanted something, I worked at grandpa's house, I worked at my parents' house, I worked for neighbors. Tom Thomas, I wanted a moped that he had. I worked for him for like 3 months cleaning his backyard. But I worked for that, and I had to learn how to work for it. And then I got a bike that didn't work, and I had to fix it. I feel like the generation that right now, the biggest issue that they have is that they have this little device in front of them all the time that brings this constant sense of reward. It's a fake sense, but, oh, I made a pizza, ding, connected 4 dots, ding, whatever. I don't care what they think.
All the time waster.
They are. And my wife does it, and everybody that's going to listen to this is familiar with these things. It drives that same part of the brain and gives them endorphins that say, good job. You hear that? It's like Vegas, the casinos. It's the same garbage. But you go, oh, but really it's idleness. It's a sense of nothing. And I wonder sometimes, how does a person get out of that? When I look at Michael and I see how much he wants to get on social media and just constantly scroll through and look for updates from his friends or some neat thing or, and I go, I never had that addiction. When I get on there, that stuff drives me crazy. I'm more interested in Facebook Marketplace. The advice, how do you help those guys? How do you help that group of people?
Encourage them to work and learn by what I did for my kids. Is I had down the hallway in Sunnyvale, California, we had a huge map of the world up with all the states shown. It covered the whole wall, all the way down the hallway. And I would come in and say, okay, who can tell me for a quarter, who can tell me what the name of the capital of this state is? And sometimes I'd have to come up with a quarter.
Can I double down now, though?
Yeah.
What happens when your kids don't even appreciate the value of money because they have almost everything they want or need?
Then you quit buying for them.
And I don't feel like I've bought a lot. I've had computers and good deals and, hey, $50 for this. Like, and I had an extra computer and set
No
it up.
matter. Problem is, whether it costs $50 or $1,000, the problem is that
Because then they have it.
they've got it and it's wasting their time. What you do is you don't get things for them. It's I've read a lot of billionaires' comments lately. Their kids are getting nothing. They don't give them anything for their cars or any of the stuff they want. If they want to earn something, go get it. And I can see that trend coming more and more. Move away from the idea that, hey, I could go buy that for you. But when the kids are young,
It's easy to do.
you want to stop that. You want to stop that feeling that Dad will go get it.
I've told Michael the other day, I said, I don't know why this came to me and why it's taken me this long in my life to realize this, but I said, you need to teach yourself to be hungry. And he said, what do you mean? I said, you need to teach yourself that it's okay to be hungry, that you're not going to die, and then take that lesson and extend it to everything.
Yeah.
And I think there's some things that when we want it and we go after it, it's okay. When a wife, eternal things, happiness, eternal happiness. But when we look at the other things, we want now. I want this right now. And so we just do it. But I don't know how to get that into their heads. And no matter how many times I say that to them, and I will. I'll remove some of the games. But how do you go back and take those things away?
You don't. You don't keep buying newer ones. You say, okay.
That's easy right now.
Yeah. You cut back. I know you really love your kids and you do the world for them, but that's the problem. You're doing the world for them. And you can't do the world for them. You've got to move away from that concept.
My favorite thing with them was when I quit fixing the 3D printer for them. They always wanted to print things on the 3D printer. And when I finally went out there and I worked, and I would try to get them to sit with me, but they would just somehow always manipulate me into doing it myself. And when I finally said, no more, not going to do it, and they had to start learning for themselves, Logan took it upon himself to finally start to figure those things out. And it's all the same kind of thing you're saying.
That's when you quit doing for them.
Okay, well, on that same token, what's the happiness that these teenagers should be looking for? What's your happiness? Like right now, at this point in your life, what is that happiness?
What you can accomplish on your own without anybody else. That's true happiness.
You telling me your ability to go to the bathroom right now is happiness?
No. No.
You said without anybody else. I'm just trying to think of what we're really saying here at this point. What are some of your earliest memories? Wait, didn't we I asked that one myself, so I jumped the gun. Do you have anything you want to add to that one?
Earliest memories? I don't know, like I said, first grade. Sitting on the floor of the basement of the library building. Walking the cattle in back and forth from the ranch. We did a lot of those kind of things. My more advanced memories were times where we I learned how to, when I went to the Army, I learned how to be a projectionist. And I started getting all kinds of jobs from that. I ran all the theaters, projecting equipment. I hired the projectionists. It gave me a good start in life. But it was just being inquisitive about what's going on around you. The kids today, you can you can make profit from the skill of playing games, because the Army has a great demand for drone pilots. In fact, in the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to have a massive increase in people trained to be drone pilots.
Yeah, because they're trying to get rid of the actual like manned fleet and things like that. Yeah. So you're saying, you kind of went back to the previous question. Then, like, what kind of advice would you give the teenagers today, and be interested in the things around you? But then you also were talking about that as a kid. Your earliest memories was being interested, learning the things around you.
That's right.
I like that. All right, next question here. Let's see. I've got but my microphone. And you know what? This kind of goes back to something we kind of fell onto earlier. What did your parents do for work?
My dad made brooms. He was a miner. Always used to see these ads, and it really frustrated me when I was young, because it says, the ad would say, miners need not apply. I always wondered what they had against my dad. But I didn't equate it to age. I equated it to his gold miner, silver miner. But I always thought it was strange that they wouldn't let miners apply.
So you talked about your mom. She actually worked in a care center.
Yeah.
And so your dad, did he actually do the mining for money, or was that he have his own mines?
He owned his own mines. He sold ore out of them.
And
He'd ship it.
He made enough money, he was actually shipping some of that stuff off.
He was shipping some of it. Not making much money, but a little bit. The biggest money he ever made, though, was when these yokels from back east told him, go out and stakes out anywhere you think and create a uranium mine, and we'll buy it.
What?
They did. My dad sold scads of uranium mines.
But did he actually have a way of making sure that there was actually uranium there?
Oh, no.
He would just go out and plot it.
Just go out and stake it.
And then they were able to make the claim.
Sure.
And then they didn't have to do that groundwork.
They would. That was an early Ponzi scheme. They would sell them all these mining permits to bigger and bigger organizations. They had thousands of them all over the United States. I mean, it was a big deal. Let's make money in the uranium.
So the initial work was staking it out and filing paperwork for us to stake a claim.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was just transfer of ownership.
That's right. So
that's crazy.
Then he never did prove up on any of them. Mm-hmm. Just went out and staked them. If they didn't prove up on them, they lost them.
So did he do that his whole life?
Towards the end, yeah. And he'd ship copper. He shipped silver and some gold.
That's cool. Did he ever find any gems or anything cool like that? Did he ever bring anything home and show it off?
I don't really remember any. He probably did.
What about your grandparents? What did they do for work? Did you remember
Farmers.
that? What's that?
Farmers.
All right, here we go. What were your siblings like when you were young?
Well, let's say we didn't always get along. I remember my brother Albert getting me down, was going to choke me to death. Finally, I had to have my brother Eddie pull him off and get him to stop. I hassled my little brother John so much that he finally hit me with a pipe.
That was John that hit you with a pipe?
Yeah. I don't know if that's for that. I have a piece of steel in my brain right there. And I don't know if that steel came from the pipe or what it came from. I did another stupid trick. I did a board over a rock and put a rock on this end of the board that was down, then took a bigger rock and dumped on the board here. and that would throw the load up high in the air. One day, I stood over here and dropped it on. It came up, hit me right in the head, and it bled, man, blood everywhere. But, and that could have been where I picked up the steel in my brain. I don't know.
Like Caroline, she cooked, right? You said is it Caroline? Did I say the name? She was primarily cooking and then caregiver, for your home, and then Albert. What do you remember about him? Was he how much older than you is he?
He's 2 up from me.
Oh, that's not bad. So you two grew up together more.
Oh yeah, and he was a ham radio operator, and that's where I got my start into communications. Is up there in his ham radio shack.
What age was he when he started that?
17, 18.
Oh wow. Okay, so you had already been to Texas and everything at that point.
Yeah.
What about John? Johnny's also older than you, right? Or no?
Johnny's younger.
Younger. Wow. You wouldn't think that. Honestly, I think Johnny's partied too hard.
Yeah.
So he, what do you remember about him?
Which one, John?
Oh, Johnny, yeah. Let's start with Johnny.
Okay. John, I remember mostly that he was he's one of those that can meet people real well and get along good with them. He's I won't use the word, but he's a character to be able to assimilate himself. Just to give you an example, he decided one year to pull a reunion of a lot of his Air Force buddies. And he had the nerve to go out and send out for generals and people like that to attend his reunion. And they attended.
What was this reunion for?
Just from unit.
Was it a decent party? Did he throw kind of any?
Oh, yeah. Did a great party. Had generals there, and he was telling the generals, retired, of course, but telling them what to do and how to help. And
That sounds like Johnny.
John's a character in that way. He's always looking for a deal. John's somebody you could drive down the road with, and he'd all of a sudden scream, "Stop!" And you'd stop, and I'd say, "What's the problem?" He'd say, "There's a 7/16 socket in the road back there. I need to get it." And he'd go back and get it. Sure enough, it'd be about what he said. I never understood that, but don't know if he planted them there so he could do that or what.
It's impressive, though, at least.
Yeah.
I got to ask you, what about Val? Like Val, he's super quiet. Has he always been that way?
Val is quieter, yeah. Val's the product of some life's learning experiences. I'm not going to go into those because that's somebody else's story. But Val was someone who takes life very seriously. There's no nonsense for Val. He got mad one day and took enough money and ended up in Hawaii because he was going to work over there. And he was there for a little while. Then he found out they won't allow haoles to work over there. So haole is a white guy. They don't like white guys over there.
How old was he at that point?
Oh, he was married. But anyway, had kids.
And he just decided he was going to move to Hawaii?
He just did, yeah.
Had he been there before?
I think he had made one trip there.
But he liked it enough. He was done, and that's where he's going.
Yeah, he was done. He was going there. Finally, when he found out he couldn't get a job as a haole, he called me on the phone and says, "Can you send me some money?" I said, "No." I think that I can send you a ticket if you want to fly back home. So he did. I was working in California at the time, so I would have been about 29 years old. Make him about 31 years old.
Did he have his whole family with him, or did he just go by himself?
By himself.
Wow.
And so he flew back because I wouldn't give him any money to anything else, and he had to survive. So he flew back, but he moved back to Sunnyvale and stayed with us for a while. And he asked me to help him find a job, and I got him a job at Ampex as a maintenance machinist. And he was in there repairing all those big lathes and all that stuff. And it was a good thing for Val because that started him on the path to being what he is today. Because he got to see how it was really done in an industrial mode.
What was he doing before that?
He did refrigeration, motor rewinding. He could take a motor apart, put all new windings in it, have it perfect.
And he started doing all that here, right in St. George?
That was all in St. George.
Wow. But after he was married and had kids, ended up out in Hawaii, but then came back and ended up in California. Did he bring his family out to California too?
He finally brought Lordella out.
Wow. And did they have any kids at that point?
I can't remember. I'm sure they did, because I did. So anyway, Ordella moved down there, and they stayed for a while after Ordella got there. Then they decided, you know what, we're going back to St. George. So he came back to St. George, just like I did.
Did he go before you or after you?
He went.
Was that?
He came out after me, and he left before me.
And, I mean, so you think about, like, my dad, his brothers. You've got Steve ended up in the mountains as a mountain man. You got Jerry ended up in California. My dad ended up in St. George. You know, Sue stays home with the family, you know, they kind of spread out quite a bit. Like, and obviously St. George is a wonderful place, but Johnny ended up back here. Val ended up back here. You ended up back here.
There's a phrase for that. You can't get the red sands out of their shoes.
I like that. What happened with Albert? Just too good of a job to pass up?
Oh, it was too good of a job. In fact, he asked me if I wouldn't go and do that job with him. I had a chance to do it. But I didn't want to go to Vietnam, and I didn't want to go to Thailand. I did Albert's resume for that job to submit to the government. He read it and he said to me, "Ray, I didn't know I was so smart until I read my resume."
That's awesome.
So
I've got a couple. I don't have another electronic device here. Like I feel like that if I close this, it's gonna probably close. No, it didn't. All right, really quickly, Grandpa. We're gonna bounce around a little bit more. I scrolled up too far. I was reading questions, and one of them was about your blood test you had at the doctor the other day. Ashley asked what your... Really, Ashley? These questions right now? We're all over Nostalgia Town. She would like to know your favorite moment of the day you married Grandma.
Of the day I married her, I think the favorite moment was a year later when I married her in the temple. That was my favorite moment, looking across with Raylene's little head poking up there, and she was so cute. We were sealed across the
altar.
The altar, and Raylene was there with us. And we'd had Raylene just before that. But they brought her in. That was my favorite moment for the wedding. We had planned to get married in the temple. Everything was set. No problems. I went up for a date one night. She said, as you know, your grandma, she had a temper.
No.
She said, we're getting married, and we're getting married tonight. And if we're not getting married tonight, you're not marrying me at all.
Sounds a bit like Grandma. Mm-hmm. Is this a bit like Val going to Hawaii?
Probably. So I said, well, I don't know what we can do. I couldn't get married. I was too young without my mother's permission. She could get married because she was a girl. Girls could get married at 18. Boys couldn't.
How old did you have to be as a boy?
21.
What? Like nationwide?
No, Utah.
Oh.
Utah, Nevada.
You think that was their way of keeping the young kids from getting married?
And down in Texas, you can get married at 14.
Oh, wow.
So, it was just different. But I said, we can't get anything. So I had to go get my mother. And then I had to get somebody to take us down. So I got Albert and his wife to take us to Vegas. And we went down and got married. I still remember the judge, George O. Treem, was the man who married us. We woke him out of bed at 1 in the morning to get married.
That was a thing? You could just wake up a judge and say, I want to get married right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, they'd have signs out that they was available. And I bought my license in Las Vegas. But there wasn't, in those days, there wasn't any marriage chapels in Las Vegas. So we went over to Judge Treem's. When we got through being married, my mother looked at me and said, got to call her mom and dad and tell them what you've done. I said, okay, Midge, go ahead and call them. My mother looked at me and said, no, you call them. You brought her down here. But if I hadn't have, Grandma would have been pretty angry. But I called him and his dad answered the phone. He said, I kind of wondered if you wouldn't do something like that. Midge was pretty angry tonight. I said, yeah, she sure was. So I got along pretty good with him after he got married.
Not as good before?
Not as good before.
We'll have to circle back around because I know there's a lot of fun stories there. I just, when you're talking about that story, you took your mom with you, and you had to take at least one other witness. Who all did you take with you?
Albert and Jean.
And Jean was his wife at the time?
Mm-hmm.
And your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Did she go with you?
Mm-hmm.
And so you guys drive from here, I-15, did it exist at the time, or did you guys drive the back way that they had to go like out by Utah Hill Mountain? Because I don't remember when I-15 was put in.
We had to drive the back way over the mountain.
So you guys go down there, you go to Vegas, you go find this gentleman. Is it dark outside? 1 o'clock in the morning? I mean, how did you even know where to go? Do you have a map? I mean, it's not like we have Google Maps.
No, at the license bureau, we asked them who would do it, and so they told us how to get to Judge Treem's house.
What's this license bureau? Is that a government agency?
Yeah.
And they're open at this point?
They was open.
That's crazy. So they're open. You call them, hey, who can marry us? They tell you, they send you this guy's house. How far? Is it in Vegas or in Henderson?
Henderson.
And so you guys drive from that point to Grandma's still mad enough she wants to get married right now. There's no point she calmed down enough that she goes, you know what, maybe we can wait a year.
No, she'd made up her mind.
Wow. So you go down to Henderson and then you pull up this guy's house. Is there street lights and stuff at this point?
Not a lot, but a few.
And you just pull up and gentleman goes and knocks.
Yeah, knocked on the door. He came to the door and said, we want to get married. And he said, okay, come on in.
So you get married in this guy's front room?
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. I just the little details you never think about. And whenever I thought you guys were going to get married, I thought of an old little white chapel in Vegas, but no.
No little white chapel.
Wow.
Strictly judge's living room, and his wife played the organ for us.
That's crazy. So no honeymoon right now, obviously. Right now it's just
Back to work.
so. And where were you working at that point?
Dixie Appliance.
And is that like washers, dryers, things like that, or what were you?
Washers, dryers.
Wow.
Television sets.
So straight back to St. George that night, the next day.
That night.
Wow. Who's driving? You?
Albert.
Wow. So all the way down to Vegas, get married, all the way back. Next morning, you're just right back at work.
We had no place to sleep because we didn't figure that far ahead. So my sister agreed that she would move back to our home, the family home, and because she wasn't married at the time. And so she moved back to the family home and let us have her house for a couple of weeks.
This is Carolee? Is this Carolee?
No, this was, you're talking about Caroline.
Caroline, sorry.
I'm talking about Lila.
Oh, Lila. I'll have to make sure I tell her thank you.
Lila told us that we could have her house for a bit.
That is cool.
So we did. We had her house.
For how long?
A couple of weeks.
So that was your honeymoon?
Yeah.
That is really, and you just went to work each day and came home. Was it magical at first? Was it like you playing house and all of a sudden you feel like a grown up, or had you already felt like a grown up at this point, or what's your mind doing?
I'd been doing things for a lot of years before that. You got to realize, the time I got married, I had been to Fort Ord, Port Sill, Fort Lewis, Fort Sill again. I had been all over. I had done a lot of things.
But Grandma hadn't. So both your level of growing up was very different at this point. And was that an issue?
No.
You guys always just got along really good?
No.
No?
No. Pretty good.
But pretty good. But like any relationship, there was growth. Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's cool. All right. I had to hit that one really quick. Favorite meal, stories from school. What about that? Any just like favorite story from school? That one comes from Dee Dee. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to pick favorites here.
Dee Dee, favorite stories from school. Oh, school, I got a story from school. I was in the 5th grade, and I was turned around and was talking to a friend of mine. His name was Bud, and the teacher yelled down and yelled at me and said, turn around and look at me. I'm talking. You don't need to talk. He says, besides that, I'm better looking. And I spoke up real quick and said, I'm not sure of that. And
you said that?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I got in real trouble for that one. He kind of laid it into me.
This was a guy teacher?
Mm-hmm. I went he sent me down to the principal's office. I got told by Vernon Worthen that I had to straighten up and fly right. That's Vernon Worthen Park.
Yeah.
Okay. He was my school principal at that time.
Oh, wow. That's who it's named after.
Yeah.
Is that guy.
That guy.
That is way cool. Let me see. I've got a lot of different requests and whatnot. I'm trying to make sure. Amy says, what is one thing he wished he would have done in his life? Oh, man, that one's got the wheels turning.
I think I would have done a little more traveling. I would have taken Midge to Scotland and over there. We had to set up a couple times, but the guy that I was doing it with always turned out to be a flake and never delivered.
Was it even you were booking with or what?
No. He was the one that knew the area, and he wanted to take us over there.
Oh, and then he just was always
Always, it's a definite future.
So it made you feel better about going there, having a guide.
Sure.
Gotcha.
It would have been better.
That's good. So travel more, but just see the world. What do you think you would have gained from that? Obviously, grandma's appreciation. Is that it? Just that you would have wanted that for her?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I guess on that same note, I'm going to expand on that a little bit. Like, why stay home all the time? Why St. George? And everyone that knows you knows when someone says, I'm driving to Vegas or I'm driving to California or I'm going to Salt Lake, I can feel the anxiety across the room. Everyone knows that you don't love it when your family travels. You love here. Why is that?
Why is that? Time spent traveling has always been considered a waste to me. Your time is not productive, so I never would.
You don't think maybe like in all these years you could have invented time travel or teleportation for us or something?
Teleportation.
Yeah, that would have been very helpful. All right. Let's see. Stacy, what caught him by surprise when he met Grandma? What else sticks out that caught him by surprise in life? So let's start with the first one. What caught you by surprise when you met Grandma?
I met Grandma at the theater, and she was very friendly and happy-go-lucky person during those years. And caught me by surprise is how friendly she was.
So you're managing the theaters at this point, right?
Yeah.
And she just, how long had she been working there?
She worked there a few months.
Few months before she asked for a ride home, right?
Yeah.
And you just, hey, yeah, after work or what?
It was after work, and she said, can you give me a ride home? And I said, I guess so, sure. I took her straight home.
And just straight to her house?
Next time she asked me, she said, you don't have to go straight home. You can drive around a little. Oh, okay. So I drove around, but I drove around her block. And that's when her dad flashed his lights at me and said he could beat me up with one hand tied behind his back. And so
you're driving around the block, you see these lights flash. Did you immediately know it was her dad?
No.
So you pull over?
I pulled over because that's what she did. Somebody wanted to talk to me. So I pulled over and he came up and says, you don't keep my daughter out this late tonight. And he let me have it.
He actually raised his voice at you and yelled at you?
Oh, he sure did. He's like, lay you flat with one hand tied behind my back. Don't you push me.
How old were you at this point? 17, 16? I mean,
probably 17.
And were you thinking like a regular teenager and saying, well, now you just told me not to, so now I have to hang out with your daughter?
No, she encouraged it quite a bit. She would call me and talk to me. We'd meet at the theaters.
Well, you didn't seem to discourage it. I mean, when she said, hey, take your time, drive around the block, you weren't like, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was happy to drive around the block.
Were you thinking like, this is a pretty cute gal?
Yeah, cute. She was a good-looking day. I didn't know her very well. I seen her in school probably a couple times, but I didn't really know her.
What about your first kiss? Do I dare ask?
Oh, that was terrifying. I was sitting in the car in front of her house, and her dad was out of town again. He was always out driving truck. And she wanted to kiss. And I wasn't about to kiss her because that was embarrassing for me. And so she pushed and pushed and pushed. I finally said, well, you're going to do something. I'm going to do something you're not going to like. What makes you think I'm not going to like it? Anyway, that conversation went on for a little bit. I finally got over and gave her a good kiss. And then it was easier after that.
And was it like a lot of anxiety on your side?
Sure was. I was scared to death.
So was that one of your first kiss or first kiss?
First kiss with her.
That's cool.
I won't.
How was it? Was it all fireworks? And then the sun comes out at night? I mean, how was it?
It was a good kiss.
Were you still feeling a lot of anxiety after? Were you convinced her dad was about to knock on your door at any point?
Never knew her dad. That was right in front of her house.
Did you walk her to the door after?
Mm-hmm.
Like a gentleman. So
always walked her to the door.
Did you get another kiss at the door?
Except for the one time when her dad came out and got her, and I did not follow either one of them to the door.
Was that the first time when he stopped you, or was that a different time? When he flashed his lights at you when you were driving her home?
Mm-hmm.
Was that when he got her and brought her in, or was that a different time he came out and got her and brought her in?
That's a different time.
Ooh. Can I hear that one?
We were sitting, I figured after that time where he told me had to have her home, I pulled up in front of her house, and I thought, okay, and know that he doesn't want her out around town. So she turned her back to her door, and I turned my back to the driver's side. I was sitting there talking. I saw the lights on their house go off and on, but I didn't know that was a signal to terminate all conversation and get in the house. They did it 2 or 3 times, and I ignored it. And she never said anything about watch for a code. But anyway, he was in town, and we didn't know it. So we were just sitting there talking, and he came out and jerked the door open. He said, my daughter doesn't sit around in cars with boys at night.
Do you want me to get you some water?
No. Okay. So that kind of set that rule.
Well, now, you saying this, I'm thinking about a lot about Charles, but I'm realizing my sweet, sweet, wonderful great-grandma, Thelma McMullen, or Thelma Gillespie, but she's in there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what did you guys ever hear later, like what she was thinking? Like, was she, hey, let them be kids, or was it more?
I have no idea what she thought.
How was she when you first met her?
She was cordial.
Did you meet her in the house, or? Oh, pause. All right.